morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Monday, March 27th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Alex Gleitman. Alex, let's talk about some of the Buckeyes that are making position changes this spring. Let's start with Eric Glover-Williams. We'll get into Josh Alabi and Wayne Davis as well. But Eric Glover-Williams, interesting guy. He's a kid that I think a lot of people thought would be an offensive player when he committed to the Buckeyes. They used him as a corner his freshman year, as a safety his sophomore year, but really only played special teams. Now they're moving him to wide receiver / H-back. Your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great move. I think EGW was kind of buried on the depth chart when it came to the defense. At safety, he wasn't going to start over any of the guys that are in the mix. At corner, he wasn't going to start over any of the top three, and then the other two freshmen, Jeff Okudah and Sean Wade, probably would have eclipsed him at this point. And, you know, having seen him on the camp circuit and you know, in different scenarios and environments as a recruit, you know, I always thought Eric Glover-Williams was electric with the ball in his hands. I mean, he really wowed crowds at Friday Night Lights at Ohio State camps, whatever it may be, the Smokehouse. And, you know, he's a guy who, with Curtis Samuel leaving and kind of a void to be filled and a lot of yards to be filled, DeMario McCall certainly capable of it, but it can't hurt to have another guy like Eric Glover-Williams who has kind of like one touch and score ability whenever he gets the ball on the offensive side. So I think this is a great move, and I think, you know, even if he doesn't ever become a starter at age for Ohio State, I think he could provide some valuable reps and do some pretty good things both there and on special teams.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the move a lot. He was just, I could see him at corner. When they moved him to safety, I'm thinking, I know he's a tough kid and he can bring it, but he might be the smallest safety in Ohio State history if he actually gets out there and plays safety. So I like this move a lot. I like this move as well, Josh Alabi, and it is Alabi for those that are wondering. I know people have called him Alibi. Even Urban Meyer's pronounced it Alibi in the past, but it is Alabi. So Josh Alabi moving from defensive tackle to offensive line. Your thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I think another good move. A kid who was many people actually, again, felt that, you know, when he was a recruit, that offensive line, maybe offensive guard, even though he's repping a left tackle right now, that guard or somewhere on the offensive line might be better suited for him. He's just a strong kid, big lower body. You know, he can move a pile for sure. And he was very impressive at, you know, whenever he worked out at Ohio State camps, Friday Night Lights, on both sides of the ball, really, and same thing at Cass Tech. But he came to Ohio State. I know he was dealing with some medical things, I think his first year last year. He bounced back from that when a lot of people didn't think he could. And he actually, I know he showed some on the line, but, you know, with the amount of talent Ohio State has on its defensive line, it wasn't going to happen for him there. If anything, he was going to maybe be in the rotation as an upperclassman. I don't think that's what you want out of a kid like that, and I don't think that's what he wants. So, you know, moving him over to the offensive line where the depth isn't great, the talent overall from top to bottom isn't as great, and maybe there's an opportunity for him to move up the depth chart. I know there's a lot of people who expect him now to possibly be in the 2 deep with the way he's picked up everything so quickly and has had success early in the spring. So, again, a move that can hurt. I think it's a solid move for the kid, a solid move for the team, and a win-win for all.
Wayne Davis moving from corner to safety. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think I kind of always, I knew when they recruited Wayne Davis that he was going to play cornerback, but I kind of always looked at his body size and his skill set, and I thought he was going to be a safety when Ohio State brought him in from Virginia. But with the way the numbers worked out last year and everything like that, it made sense for him to stay a corner. We saw that with a number of players from Ohio State in the past. I think I know Kurt Coleman started out as a cornerback and then moved to safety. I actually see them kind of as similar body types and skill sets, actually. I think Von Bell actually may have started out a cornerback. I know Jeff Okudah is going to start out a cornerback. Jordan Fuller started out technically a cornerback when he arrived on campus and then moved to safety. So Ohio State does this with a lot of guys. Like, let's see if they could cover. We have a need at cornerback. We're going to put you there, and then maybe your skill set, you just get bigger in the weight room and you translate to safety. So I think that's the case with Wayne Davis. You have all these corners coming in this year that are really good and are going to play, and they might have even beaten out Wayne Davis on the depth chart, but there's not much depth at safety. I mean, you have Damon Webb, who's going to be a senior. You have Eric Smith, who's going to be a senior. And then you really have Jordan Fuller, who's going to be a sophomore. And after that, there's a lot of unknown. I know Jocelyn Winters looked great this spring. I know that Jeff Okudah could move into safety. I know Isaiah Pryor's at safety. But there's not a lot of proven depth and talent really outside of Damon Webb. I mean, the other job's up for grabs and the 2 deep's up for grabs. So putting Wayne Davis there makes a lot of sense.
And I want to ask you about the two starters who are moving positions. Let's start with Chris Worley going from outside linebacker to middle linebacker, and then Billy Price going from guard to center. Just talk about those two moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more interesting one to me is going to be Chris Worley, because I don't think he has that prototypical middle linebacker body. I mean, he's got good size, but I think it's more the fact that the way he plays the game with his physicality. He's a really smart player. He knows his defense inside and out. He's a veteran. He has plenty of experience after last year, especially. And I think they just felt he's the best guy for the middle because of the way he's not afraid to stick his nose in there and play physical. And they're confident he can continue to put on more good weight and captain the defense from a mental standpoint, making all the calls and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I think everyone kind of thought like, oh, maybe Dante Booker will move inside or Justin Hilliard will emerge, and it doesn't seem like Booker's going to move inside, but it certainly seems like Hilliard could emerge. Or maybe it's Baron Browning as a freshman. I think he could see some time on the field this year. But I think the Worley thing is going to work out. I think he's just a tough kid who knows the game, knows the defense, and he's going to be. I think he's a pro outside linebacker, but I think in college he could play middle linebacker, especially for a year. Now Billy Price, I mean, I think that was kind of a no-brainer. I think everyone assumed if he stayed, he was going to move to center, kind of the way Pat Elflein did. A lot of people have felt that could be his better position for many years. And he's certainly not going to have any of the false start issues that he had last year playing the center position, because he's the guy who's snapping the ball. So I think that's a good thing. I think, the center Urban Meyer's talked about in the past, it's extremely important in his offense. They're the ones who make all the calls on the line. Things of that nature. And Billy's been around the program for a while. Again, he knows the offense inside and out. He knows the players inside and out. He's been to it. He started, this is now his fourth year as a starter. So he's seen and done plenty. The guys respect him, and he's going to be a leader out there on the field at a position that you need to be a leader.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about the defensive end position. We talk a lot about how Ohio State has an embarrassment of riches at quarterback. How about defensive end? I mean, it's so ridiculous. They have guys that would be starters at most places that are like running with a third team, like Jonathan Cooper and Rashad Berry. And where does Chase Young figure in factor in with all of this? Let's just go down the list here. So Tyquan Lewis and Sam Hubbard are coming back as starters. Top backups, Nick Bosa and Jalen Holmes are coming back. And of course, a lot of those guys can slide inside, and I get that. But again, Jonathan Cooper, Rashad Berry, Chase Young coming in. How are they going to find room to get all of these talented guys on the field, Alex?
I really don't know. I think that's where Larry Johnson's going to earn his money, because he's got to figure out what's the right down and distance, what's the right situations to best utilize these guys' skill set. I think it's a great problem to have, but how are you going to keep Nick Bosa and Jalen Holmes off the field? How are you going to keep Tyquan Lewis and Sam Hubbard off the field? Jonathan Cooper would start on pretty much every other program in the Big Ten, if not the country for the most part. And same with Chase Young as a freshman, and Rashad Berry's got talent, and if Darius Slade comes back from injury successfully, I mean, he's a guy who showed promise. So they are potentially legitimately 8 players deep at defensive end. I think you're going to have to, on obvious passing downs, you're going to potentially see a Tyquan Lewis, Sam Hubbard, Nick Bosa, and Jalen Holmes defensive line. That could happen. Again, you're going to have to figure out what scenarios and situations and down and distances are these guys going to be best utilized, and keep a rotation, keep them fresh, similar to what Alabama's done, in their reign over the last, however long it's been, 8 years or so, where they've just had dudes on that defensive line, and they figured out a way to rotate them all in, get them meaningful snaps, have them make meaningful plays, and then get them all to the NFL. So I think they'll figure it out. I think it's a great problem to have, and it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But honestly, I have no clue. That's going to be a tough challenge for Larry Johnson.
Programming note, Ohio State resumes spring practice tomorrow. We will be there covering the first hour of it, and we will interview Urban Meyer after practice around 11:30 a.m. So, again, that is Tuesday. Buckeyes are back at it. We will watch practice, give a practice report, and interview Coach Urban Meyer. Before I let you go, Alex, let's talk some recruiting. What's maybe one or two things a Buckeye fan needs to know about recruiting right now?
Yeah, well, I would say this weekend closes one book on a storyline, and next weekend opens another one. So this weekend, Jaden Woodby, the safety from St. John Bosco in California, was on campus. He committed to Ohio State in February, but a lot of people were kind of skeptical, like, is he going to stick? He's a USC legacy. He goes to USC games all the time. He's out there. It's easier for them to recruit him. He's got a lot of friends going there, et cetera, et cetera. He talked about making official visits to Oregon, to Georgia, and things of that nature. And I put up a VIP update on the site last night following Jaden's visit to campus. So check that out if you haven't yet. And he basically said, I am more solid than ever to Ohio State. He was there with both of his parents for the first time. He said he's going to come back for the spring game in a couple weeks. I believe. I'm not sure if his parents are coming back, but either way, he's going to be back on campus for the spring game. He told me, it kind of made him feel like he doesn't want to take those officials that he said he would previously take. If he could take all 5 officials to Ohio State, that's what he would do. So I think that was a huge win for Ohio State, getting him back on campus and kind of, further solidifying that commitment, although I think they're going to have to fight until signing day for him. And then the second storyline, I would say, is Teron Vincent visiting this coming weekend. IMG Academy defensive tackle, son of former NFL star and current NFL employee Troy Vincent. His brother's at NC State, but Teron is a little bit of a bigger recruit than that. His brother actually was recruited at Penn State first by Larry Johnson before Larry decided to move to Ohio State. So there was a prior relationship with the family. The Buckeyes have kind of led the whole way. Florida State has caught up. Teron says they're even coming out of his last Florida State visit, but he will be on campus this weekend with his family. And then he said he's going to announce a commitment within a week after that. So I personally think Ohio State's in a great spot for Teron. I've had him crystal balled for maybe almost 2 years now, or at least a year and a half to Ohio State, and I think Ohio State's going to finally get that really highly ranked 5-star defensive tackle that everyone's been craving the last couple of years. So those are 2 storylines, the would-be visit coming out of the weekend and the Teron Vincent visit coming into this weekend that I think are really great stories for Ohio State fans this coming week.
Well, that's fantastic news for the Buckeyes if it works out that way. And it's fantastic information, as always, from Alex Gleitman. Thank you very much, Alex, and thanks to all the listeners for tuning into the show. I appreciate it and I hope you have a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.